All right. Hey, everybody. This is a very quick mini lesson for you on a thing that I think is pretty common, which is what should you do when you get stuck, right? If you're trying to work on your college application essays or really any kind of writing project, and you just feel like you're sitting there and zoning out, and you're frustrated and you can't do anything. I have definitely been there many times, and I imagine many of you have as well. You're just feeling like you're just fried and your brain's not working and you can't get anything done. So what I put together is a slideshow of I forget how many, 5 or 6, I think, different tips that will help you out. And I think I want to give you a bunch because different ones work for different people. So if you do feel stuck today or at some time in the future as you're trying to write in class or at home, come back to this and see if any of these kind of resonate for you. I've kind of ranked them in order of helpfulness, but I think really you will find some might be more helpful for you than others. Okay, so the first tip for getting unstuck is I would go and read examples, right? So this is image from the college essay guide, which is in your email if you just search Mr. Kraz's college essay guide. And so anyway, you'll see there are some examples from Tufts University. There are some examples from the New York Times, sort of collects really good college application essays. I'm going to keep putting more on here, but I mean, this is plenty of examples for you to go read. And I think that often will give you some inspiration. You'll read an example and you'll be like, oh, maybe I could do something kind of like that. Or I like how this one started out, right? Maybe I'll try and do something like that in my piece. So I would definitely encourage you to just, if you're feeling stuck, like go read examples, and that might get your brain out of that kind of stuck space. The second way to get unstuck is to use that timer technique. We've done this before in class, right? Where I'll set a timer for 20 minutes, and we will focus and work during that time, and then we take a break. I I think I have found this to be really helpful in my life personally. If I'm kind of stuck or kind of my brain's just really struggling to focus on whatever I need to be doing, I found it pretty helpful to like set a timer for 20 minutes, 25 minutes, 15 minutes. You can work up to a higher amount if you need to. Um, and once that timer is going, I'm just committing to myself. I'm saying, okay, I'm not going to get distracted. I'm going to feel the urge to check my phone or check my email or talk to my friend next to me or whatever. I'm going to feel that urge. And when it comes up, I'm going to go like pause, acknowledge it, put it to the side, and keep going for the 20 minutes, right? And then once it hits that, I give myself a break, right? So usually 3, 4, 5 minutes. And during that time, I can stand up, walk around, do whatever, talk to a friend, play a game. Um, this only works if you commit to trying to make it work, but I have found a lot of personal success, and I found a lot of success working with students as well. But the key is you have to commit to it and acknowledge when you want to get distracted, and then continue to focus. I think it's also good for our brains. Our brains, like when we are working on these huge tasks that take many, many hours to complete, it can just feel endless. But if we're like, oh, I only have to work for 20 minutes, like, okay, I can do that. And you're working and working, and then you take a break. And if you do that a bunch of times, you'll finish whatever this big project is. Okay, third way to get unstuck. This one is I find pretty helpful as well. Is just to change your location. So if you're working in class, that might mean just switching to a different desk, or moving from one of the bean bags to a desk, or taking your desk and just turning it and like facing the window or facing the wall or something, right? Like just changing your sort of location and your scenery, I have found can also kind of just get your brain out of an unfocused rut. So that's kind of in class. If you're out of class, though, if you're working in your bedroom, like maybe go try and work down in the kitchen, or if you're working, or you can also just really change locations. I struggle to do work at my home. So if I need to get stuff done over the weekend, sometimes I'll go to the library, or I'll go to um, a friend's house or something. But like actually like physically changing my location, I have found can be helpful for getting my brain out of a stuck scenario. This is another good one, just taking a brief walk. Now, if this is in class, please check in with me. Don't just leave for a while. And that's why I say brief walk as well. But I think sometimes if we're just sitting there and our brain is unfocused and not working right, um, just standing up and taking even a little walk around the classroom could do something. But you're also welcome to ask me if you can just do a sort of lap around the second floor and come back. And I think you might find that can be helpful. Or if you're at home, right, just standing up, walking around, maybe doing a little walk outside can be helpful. I think we have two more. Another tip that you could use if your brain is really stuck is try switching from computer. I think most of us are probably writing on the computer. Try switching to pen and paper, and it's a different. It activates your brain kind of in a different way to have to write with your hands rather than typing. So I would encourage you to try that. See if that works for you. Um, this one only works for me sometimes, but I know there are some people who it like works really well for them. So maybe you're one of those people, and you should find out. Um, yeah, so just try and work doing the same thing, answering the same prompts, but try handwriting it. And then I think this is the last one. Another way is to switch your music or sort of sound scenario. I know lots of people like listening to music, and if you're listening to music that you really enjoy and you really know well, and it has lots of lyrics and words and things like, I think that can sort of distract a part of your brain from whatever sort of task you're working on. Um, I didn't really know this about myself until I was in college, but then I started experimenting with different kinds of music and if they would help me focus. Um, and I think it's because in high school I only listened to music that I liked, and so it distracted me. But in college, I sort of came across these different kinds of YouTube playlists that I think are really helpful, right? So this is like lo-fi beats to study, relax to. There's a whole huge genre of music based around these, and they're just kind of nice, sort of hip hop ish beats. But there's usually no words and they kind of go on for a while. And so I don't know, for me, it helps me, especially if I'm in a classroom where other people are talking and working on stuff, like it helps me kind of just get into my own little world and have this sort of rhythm that pushes me along. Sometimes I'll do classical music as well. And again, I just put on one of these big, like 3 hour YouTube videos that's like, classical music for studying. And I find those to be pretty helpful as well. So what I would encourage you to do is to switch up your music. So if you're not listening to anything, maybe try listening to one of these things. And if you are listening to stuff, maybe switch to one of these, or maybe get rid of music for a little while and see if that helps, right? Basically, I think the big takeaway is if you're feeling stuck, you got to change the scenario, right? It's not just going to change itself. So that might mean moving to a different place, changing your music, just standing up and moving around, switching from computer to pen, right? Like a lot of these things have to do with like your current state is not working, so you need to like mix it up and change it somehow. Um, and I think that's pretty much it, right? So you'll see this is the big summary, right? Read some examples, try the 20-minute timer. You could physically switch locations. You could take a little walk. You could switch to pen and paper, or you could do something different with your like music and sound. Cool. So let me know if you have other techniques that you found that work really well for you. I would love to add them to this mini lesson. All right, thanks, y'all. Go forth and get some good writing done.